In this video, we're going to become exponent detectives. So we're actually going to be looking at some numbers and trying to figure out, well, how can I make them into an exponent, right? How can I hunt down some clues and try to figure out how to turn a whole big line of numbers into an easy, manageable exponent? Let's get started. We know that the expanded form of an exponent looks kind of like this. It's a bunch of numbers multiplied together. In fact, it's the same number, 5 in this case, multiplied by itself a bunch of times. 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. Couldn't there be an easier way to write this? Guess what? There is, and that's what an exponent is. It's just an easier way to write this problem. If we want to write this problem in a really easy way, what do we use? We use an exponent. Let's check it out. Well, I know that an exponent has a base, so I know I'm going to have a base. Let's just say that this is going to be equal to something with a base. And an exponent also has to have a power. It has to have a power. So it's got to be some number up here, which is the power. Well, what's the number that we're working with? Take a look. Forget all of this stuff and just take a look. What's the number that we're working with? Because that's what the base is. What's the number that we're working with? Well, it's the only number on the board. It's got to be 5, right? It's the only number on this board. So what's our base? Got to be 5. It's the number that we're working with. Now, how do we find our power? How do we find our power? How do we find this power? How do we find our power? We need to see how many times our base is multiplied by itself. So let's count them up. Just count along the tops. Just count along the tops of the numbers. Well, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5 5s, and they're all multiplied together. They're all multiplied together, so that's got to be 5 raised to the 5th. This is equal to 5 to the 5th. Why? Well, our base, our number that we're working with, is 5, and our power is 5 because we're going 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 5 5s. Let's check out some other expanded forms and see if we can't figure out what exponents they really are. 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. So you got to be thinking, the number that I'm working with now, that's got to be 6. It's the only number around. It's the only number for miles. 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. Our base got to be 6. It's the number that we're working with. Now, we know we need a power up here. We definitely need a power up here. So what's our power? Well, let's do our counting method again. Got 1 6, 2 6s, 3 6s, 4 6s. That's got to be 4 6s. 6 to the 4th, 6 times 6 times 6 times 6, 4 times. 6 to the 4th, 6 times itself 4 times. Let's do one more so that you're super comfortable. Let's try it with 37. Let's try it with 37. 37 times 37 times 37 times 37 times 37. Whoa, that's a lot of 37s. That's going to be a huge number, but it's super easy to write as an exponent. What's our base? I don't know. Could it be the number that's right there? It's right here. My finger is going under it. My finger is going under the number. Oh, it's all of these numbers. What's that number? It's 37. Gotta be 37. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got all 37s. No other numbers here, so our base has got to be 37. Now, how many times do we see 37? Let's count them up. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and 5 times. We see 37 5 times. That means our power going up to the top right here, that's got to be 5. By now, you should have a good understanding of how to turn something that looks like this, an expanded form, into an exponent. You find your base by saying, hey, what's the only number that I see? And then you find your power by saying, well, how many times do I see that number?